Hello, gents. With the PlayStation 5 Professional offering users more choices in the settings menus of enhanced games, what are the odds that we will start seeing aspect ratio choices on consoles? Even on a
Hmm.
16 by 9 monitor, I feel like 21 by 9 really helps give games a cinematic edge. Is that too niche for an already niche product? John, I put this question in because I was reminded of your comments on Death Stranding Director's Cut, where you preferred the
Oh,
21 by 9 presentation, which you presumably played on a 16 by 9 screen.
correct.
Now, here's the thing. Uh, I think, first of all, the question is, do you prefer those modes for specific games? Do you think it would actually be a good thing to do? Secondly, I don't really think it should actually be reserved just to PS5 Professional. It should just be there in the game if you're going to do the work,
Hmm.
regardless of which console you got.
Yeah, so firstly, I would say I think these ultra wide modes are very excellent. And in fact, on my PC monitor here, it's an LG C2 OLED 16 by 9 screen, but because it's 42 inches and I'm sitting at a desk, it's very large. Rich, you're using a 48 inch on your desk.
Sure.
I measured it, and the size of the 21 by 9 visible image is bigger than the 38 ultra wide that I used to have as my main monitor.
Right.
So the viewable area is huge, which is why, in many cases, I do actually still play PC games in ultra wide mode on a 16 by 9 screen. Uh, I like it. I think it does feel immersive. It sort of fills your field of view in a way, and it reduces the amount of looking up and down. Um, but in the console space, that's a little bit trickier because that does alter that. I think on a per game thing, it could be something that I would like to see more of. But as far as like what he's suggesting here is like a console level solution, that I feel is very much still off the table. And if we were going to see that at any point in the near future, it would be Microsoft that does it first. They've traditionally embraced alternative display modes for their consoles, whereas Sony, outside of the 1440p push, they've largely just stayed with TV standards and have mostly like not been willing to jump into the PC world in that regard. So I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. With what we've been talking about with Microsoft, though, we could see that on their next machine, maybe if they really make this PC jump, right? So maybe ultra wide support at a system level will come to Xbox in the future. But yeah, I would like to see more games do this on console because like Death Stranding, the reason there was right. You had if you wanted 60 FPS and you did a full screen mode, it was sub native res. But if you did the ultra wide mode, it was like a pixel matched resolution so you get 4K style like presentation, but by chopping off the top and bottom, they would kind of reduce the load a little bit. So you still get the image quality of native 4K, but you also get the wider FOV. Which if you were to increase the FOV at a 16 by 9 aspect ratio, it just opens up too much on the top and bottom and it ends up looking kind of awkward, which is why it is typically reserved for like these ultra wide presentations.
Mm. I think the problem with doing a system-wide implementation is that specifically cutscenes are often authored within a 16 by 9 aspect
Big
ratio, and
time.
weird things can happen on the
Ah,
sides. And speaking to Sony about the some of the PC ports they've done, they've the likes of Nixis and Jetpack Interactive have actually had to go in and fix all of those issues for ultra
oh
wide.
yeah.
So that's a software issue that would need to be done.
Rich, I would also say, even in the PC space right now, ultra wide support is both not guaranteed and often not as well implemented as you would like. Like it's there now, but for instance, Space Marine 2 launched without ultra wide support, which genuinely surprised me. And like you say, a lot of cutscenes still. Anything pre-rendered, cutscenes, menus, it's always a crapshoot. You don't know what it's going to be. I will say, I one thing I really found awesome was in the recent Dragon Age game that Alex did the video on. They actually have an optional setting in there where it's if you want ultra wide cutscenes, you can turn it on. They warn that weird stuff can happen in the sides, but if you want it, you got it, and I think that's great. I wish more PC games would just say, hey, you know what? There might be some weird glitches from time to time, but if you want to view your cutscenes in ultra wide, here's the option. You don't have to do like an extra mod or something to get it.
Oliver?
Yeah, I mean, personally, jeez, I'd, oh man.
You're not that interested.
No, I'd really like to see fewer options rather than more. I think we're really getting away from God's plan for consoles, from the
God,
console ideal here.
what the
Uh,
new
because
meme incoming from Digital Foundry?
yeah, I just, oh man, I just think that consoles historically have been a limited number of options, maybe a couple toggles for post processing. Now we're getting modes up the wazoo here. I think with PS5 Pro in particular, developers should be looking at it as an opportunity to homogenize modes. I really like that in some titles. I like that in Last of Us. I like that in Star Wars Outlaws. I like that in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I think in most titles you are getting a more minimal trade-off, or you should be at least getting a more minimal trade-off at 60 FPS relative to the base console. So yeah, adding in new discrete modes, not just for new preferences, but for new display types, and not just for new refresh rates or new resolutions, but new aspect ratios. That is an interesting and untested area on console platforms. And I don't think that's the way to go. I think 16:9 is perfectly fine. I think that's a very mainstream display format. And I think outside of the realm of PC and ultra-wide monitors, you really don't see those aspect ratios on consumer sets too much at all.
Well, Oliver, let me present this then. What if Nintendo went crazy and they said instead of doing the DS format with the dual screen, we do a 32:9 handheld?
Oh, well, this
that would
gets
be,
back here. You don't like the
interesting.
wide handhelds, right?
No, but
John?
they could have the controls on the bottom. And
Oh, yeah,
you
that's,
hold a giant ultra wide monitor right in the palm of your hands.
yeah,
Could you have actually uncovered the Switch 2 gimmick there,
There it
John?
is. You heard it here first. 32:9. Switch 2. It's so that you can have it's 2-player, so you can each have your own 16:9 screen when you use the kickstand.
Oh,
Yeah. Okay.
Bam, there it is.
I'm not sure this would adhere to God's own console philosophy that Oliver has just.
well, I just feel like we're straying
Yeah,
away
compared
from
to-
things. I feel like
Flew too close to the sun, and
even with there's some really good PS5 Pro games out there, like the Insomniac titles, and like you're still getting, oh my god, now we're multiplying like 3 different toggles for AO by this many different modes by this many different toggles, and it's like this is not the way that I'd like console games to be configured personally. And I think the onus should be on the developer to provide a set of really nicely QA'd, nicely tested modes that work really well, that are, going to work for the majority of players. And I think if you want that configurability, there's a platform called that, and it's called the PC. And in a lot of cases, for the ultra-wide mods, you need patches anyways. You need fan mods anyways. So
I just realized your comment though, Oliver, about God's own plan for consoles. You might be referring to Mark Cerny, who his plan was about combining performance and quality modes into one. What if you didn't have to choose?
that's true.
Well, we haven't seen that many games.